Good day. Welcome to Soul 303, Study Session 1. The concept of psychology in social work. Introduction. The word psychology has been defined in various ways by people, scholars, and psychologists. To some people, it is the study of the mind. To others, it is the study of animal and human behaviors, as there is no universal definition of psychology. It is imperative that we examine some other definitions given by scholars and psychologists. In this study session, we will discuss the nature of psychology and its approaches for proper understanding of human behaviors. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this study session, you should be able to 1. Define the concept of psychology. 2. Describe the nature of psychology. 3. Present at least 4 approaches to studying human behavior. Concept of psychology. Psychology has been defined by many people as the study of the mind. This is a confusing statement and quite misleading because nobody is capable of studying the human mind except God. Iyiola, 1996, and Mojoyinlola, 2000. Psychology seeks to study, explain, and change the behavior of people. Therefore, it can be defined as the scientific study of behavior and experience. AltSchool, 1975. It is a course of study designed to observe, understand, predict, and control behavior, be it that of man and animal behaviors. Morgan and King, 1975, defined psychology to mean the scientific study of man and animal behaviors. Hilgard et al., 1979, regarded psychology as the science that studies behavior and mental processes. Marx et al., 1976, defined it as the scientific study of experience and behavior in organisms. According to Bourne and Russo, 1998, psychology is the scientific study of behavior, observable actions like eating, walking, talking, etc., and mental processes. Example: perception, reasoning, thinking, etc. Coleman, 2001, defined psychology as the study of the nature, functions, and phenomena of behavior and mental experience. Whatever definitions that might be given to psychology by people or scholars, it helps us to understand man and animal behaviors, those we can see and those we cannot see. 2. Nature of psychology. Psychology evolves as a science because it employs scientific methods in establishing facts, which include study, observation, experimentation, survey, sampling, objectivity, control, and so forth. Psychology is a discipline or course designed to study and observe and predict man and animal behaviors. Psychology by its nature has many branches or areas of study, namely educational, developmental, counseling, clinical, social, industrial, community, health, and abnormal psychology. 3. Approaches to studying human behaviors. There are several approaches in psychology which help us to understand human behavior. These are early and contemporary approaches. 1. Early approaches: logic, intuition, and wishful thinking. In the distant past, how most people know about human behavior and mental life was based on anecdotes, casual observation, intuition, logic, and plain old wishful thinking. Bourne and Russo, 1998. Unusual behavior in the past was thought to be caused by evil spirits, which needed to be let out by opening the skull, trephining, and sometimes by exorcism, driving out evil spirit by prayer and ritual. Empiricism. Late in the 16th century, empiricism, a school of thought based on systematic or scientific observations in the real world, emerged to provide a new method of discovering real psychological facts. Empiricists believed that knowledge could be gathered through the senses. For example, John Locke, 1632 to 1704, advanced the idea that the mind begins as a blank state, or tabula rasa, which is written on by experience. He believed that there is nothing in our minds to begin with, that heredity provides us with absolutely no knowledge of the world. Everything that comes to the mind, therefore, is a product of experience. Psychophysics. Early psychologists like Ernst H. Weber, 1795 to 1878, and Gustav Fechner, 1801 to 1887, began with the assumption that mind is a valid concept, something different from body and necessary to account for human experience and behavior. They set out to study the relationships between our conscious mental experience, psycho, and physical reality, physics. Hence, this area of study is called psychophysics. They discovered that relationships between physical stimulus, intensity, example, loudness of sound, and magnitude of psychological experience. Example, how loud the sound is perceived to be. Introspection. Williams Wundt, 1832 to 1920, believed that just as a molecule of table salt, that is sodium chloride, NaCl, consists of separate elements Na+ and chlorine Cl, but has different properties than those elements, so consciousness or subjective experience consists of physical structures or compounds such as ideas, emotion, and actions that can be separated into basic psychical elements. He opined that introspection can be used to study the contents and structure of consciousness, in which an individual focuses his attention on what is going on in his mind at the instant a stimulus presented to him. The person reports carefully only what he directly observes in his mind's eye, but avoid reporting the meaning of the stimulus observed. 2. Contemporary approaches. The contemporary approaches to psychology or to the study of mind and behavior include the biological, evolutionary, neurological, structuralist, behaviorist, cognitive, humanistic, functionalist, and socio-cultural approaches. Biological approach. The mind is metrically hooked to the brain. Psychologists such as Weber, Fechner, Wundt, and James believe that the mind can only be understood through studying the brain and the nervous system. The approach emphasizes the importance of biological factors in shaping behavior and seeks to understand the relationship of the body to the mind. They speculated about the relationship between the speeds of nerve impulse and how long it took the various body parts to react to a stimulus, and about which areas of the brain were responsible for various mental powers and abilities. Evolutionary approach. According to this approach, some behavior seems natural in the sense that they occur with no special training. Motivation or thought. Bourne and Russo, 1998. Also, people seem to have natural predispositions to particular traits or social behaviors. Much of what we do in life is inherently pre-programmed. The genes we inherit from our parents predispose us to act in ways that are adaptive enhancing our chances of surviving and multiplying. According to the evolutionary psychologists, one of the behavioral themes that is grounded in genetic heritage is called altruism, or self-sacrifice in the service of others. We tend to be most altruistic with our closest relatives, and we are more likely to share our food, money, and other resources with them than with non-relatives. Wilson, 1978. Cognitive approach. This approach emphasizes cognition and mental processes going on inside the brain and the mind. It views human beings as active information processors, constantly interacting with their environments and using their mental capacities as they do so. The approach associates the way human beings think and act with the way the computers process information. According to this approach, information is processed at several locations in the brain. This processed information can either affect behavior immediately, or it can be stored in the memory and influence behavior at a later time. Study session summary. In this study session, we discussed psychology as the scientific study of man and animal behaviors, the scientific study of behavior, observable actions, and mental processes, perceptions, thinking, and reasoning. We noted that psychology by its nature has many branches and approaches for understanding humans' mind and behaviors. End of study session 1. Thank you for listening.